Biblical timeline of history. We aim to uncover the significance of important historical dates, such as the creation in 11,013 BC, the flood in 4990 BC, and even the date when God would bring judgment upon the house of God, the churches, as mentioned in 1 Peter 4:17. We'll also explore the date of Judgment Day, which is also alluded to in the same verse. And you might be wondering what the biblical timeline of history is and why it's important to learn. These dates weren't placed in the Bible arbitrarily. They serve a purpose beyond mere knowledge. God always has a reason for concealing truths within the Bible. These essential dates are not explicitly stated in verses, but require meticulous exploration through comparing Scripture with Scripture, the biblical method for revealing truth, mathematical analysis, and ultimately guidance from God's Holy Spirit. So what exactly is the biblical timeline of history? It's a timeline that spans across the Bible, beginning with the first book, Genesis. This timeline then extends into subsequent books and chapters. Why should we invest time in learning about the biblical timeline of history? The answer can be found in Ecclesiastes 8:5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. To comprehend the current time or season, understanding past biblical events is essential to understand when future events will occur that the Bible is prophesied about.
All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Biblical Timeline of History. This is going to be episode 12, I believe. Episode 12, and this is Kings Part 5. So you might have recalled last time we went over the Kerosene proofs. We took a little bit of a detour, and we did Part 1 and Part 2 of that. So this time we're just going to pick up with the Kings, and we'll probably do a little bit of reviewing what we went over last time, and then we'll go from there. And I got Brian with me again. Brian is going to unmute you. There you go. Okay. All right, we'll just get started right away. Go ahead and share my screen. All right. And just a reminder, if you want to get to the biblical timeline of history on our website, you'll go to the website and you'll go to the side menu right here, scroll down, and you're going to see biblical timeline. Okay. All right. And then if you want to get to the King's timeline, you're going to scroll along the timeline all the way down to this right here. You just click it, and that'll get you to the King's timeline. Okay. So last timeline episode, not the last one, but the last one when we were going over the kings, we started to go through the kings of Israel. So I'm just going to zoom out here just to give you an overview of what this looks like. So the kings of Israel starts here. This is King Saul. You got King David and King Solomon. And then what we have here is, this is when the two kingdoms, they split off, right? So the kingdoms divided, and the 10 tribes go to the kings of Israel, and the 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, go to the kings of Judah. And so here you can see that King Rehoboam and King Jeroboam, they don't co-reign, but they reign concurrent with each other. And so this is where we'll be picking up. Now, there are a few changes that we made, so we'll just go through some of that. So we'll click Saul's tab. And here Should probably zoom in. Oh, I don't think we can hear you, Brian, because you're unmuted, but your microphone, I don't think is connected. Okay, so we've kind of broken these up into two categories. The first category is how long did this king reign?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because you said that Jeroboam and Rehoboam were not co-regents, they were just reigning simultaneously. The difference when we said that David and Solomon were co-regents, they were both reigning over all 12 tribes at the same time. Whereas when we say Jeroboam and Rehoboam are reigning concurrently, but they're not co-regents, Rehoboam was king of only Judah and Benjamin, and Jeroboam was king of only the 10 tribes. So there was no area which was ruled by them both.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. So with King Saul and with the rest of the kings, we've added these highlights just so you can keep track of if we're talking about an accession year or versus a non-accession year. So if it's highlighted in yellow, we're referring to that king's accession year, which is in yellow. And then if it's highlighted in orange, we're referring to that king's non-accession year. So this is just a handy way to keep track of that. So
And accession and non-accession would be another way of saying accession is non-inclusive, non-accession is inclusive, or to use the phrase that Chris likes to use, accession would be actual years and non-accession would be calendar years.
yeah. Yeah, and again, if you want to check that out, you can scroll up above here, and we go into detail about accession versus non-accession. So we could just quickly go over it again. So non-accession again is King Saul's first non-accession year, but we don't know how long he reigned in this year. It may not have been a full year, and so that would be his first non-accession year. But then his first accession year, this would be his first full year of reigning as king. So they're just two different ways to count. And actually that type of count is proven here in 1 Samuel 13:1. It says Saul reigned 1 year when he had reigned 2 years over Israel. So 1 year would be right here, but it'd also be his second year of reigning because it's his second non-accession. Same year though, 1046. And that's what that year would be referring to. Negative 1046. And then if you want to figure out when Saul reigned, you can check out Solomon's tab. We already went through that. We worked our way backwards with Solomon, and we made it through King David and King Saul, because you have to work your way backwards if you want to figure out when he ruled. Okay. I think we already went through all that. And then with King Solomon, again, there's a few updates I made. I just highlighted these in yellow just to let you know if we're talking about accession versus non-accession. I think that helps. But we'll just go ahead and we'll start with after Solomon. We have King Rehoboam, and then we have King Jeroboam. So we did go through this, but we'll just do a quick. We'll go through it pretty quickly. So when did he reign? The year Solomon died, which is when King Rehoboam and King Jeroboam began to reign. So that's 931, and we know that he reigned for 17 years. So that's why we put 17 accession years. This would be his 18th non-accession. Again, if you see a yellow highlight above the person's name, that means God gives us the how long they reigned in the accession system. And then if they have orange above the king right over here, that's the non-accession system. So God gives us Jeroboam's rule and non-accession. So if you scroll down, he said he reigned 2 and 20 years, which is 22 non-accession years. Okay. So we already went through Rehoboam and Jeroboam. So we're going to start with King Abijam, and we'll just pick up from there. So, Brian, do you want to read that?
Sure. First Kings 15:1 states, Now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abijam over Judah. And so if we look, okay, and in First Kings 15:2 we read, 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abshalom. So if we go to Jeroboam's 18th year,
And that would be his 18th non-accession because it's highlighted in the orange. So that's 914. Scroll over. That gets us to 914 for Abijam.
and it says in verse 2, 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abshalom. So as you can see, it's 3 accession years, and all the total reigns of the kings of Judah are given in accession years, and for the kings of Israel, the first 9 are given in non-accession years, and the subsequent 11 are given in accession years.
All right, then I'll go to King Jeroboam. I'll read this. So King Jeroboam was the first king of Israel. Oh, actually, I already did that. I guess I'll pick up with so you just did
And so when
Abijam.
we say that somebody's a certain king, like for example, you can see on the screen, Asa is the third king. We're talking about post Solomon. So if you say Jeroboam is the first king of Israel, we're not saying that he predates Saul. We're simply saying he's the first post Solomon king. He's the first king who reigned over only the 10 tribes.
Yeah, and you'll notice here we put first for Rehoboam, first for Jeroboam. So this is the first of their, like what Brian just explained, their the concurrent reigns. So you just did Abijam, so I guess I'll start off with we went through Jeroboam, but I guess I could just show you yeah, we did that. So I'm gonna skip down to Nadab. We went over this previously too. It's the second year of Asa, and you'll notice we have it in orange. So if you scroll over, this is King Asa. It's his second non-accession year, which is 910. You scroll right over, and we see Nadab began to reign in 910. That's Asa's second year of reigning as king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. So 1 year, 2 years. Okay. And then we did also Baasha. Is it Baasha or Baasha? I always miss this one.
I'm not sure. Guy would, I think it's Baasha, but Guy would probably be the better person to ask.
Baasha. Okay. So he's the third king of Israel. First Kings 15:28. So when did he reign? First Kings 15:28. Even in the third year of Asa, king of Judah. So this is Asa's third year, but it's his third non-accession, as it's highlighted in orange. So even in the third year of Asa, king of Judah, did Baasha slay him and reigned in his stead. And then how long did he reign? First Kings 15:33. In the third year of Asa, king of Judah, began Baasha the son of Ahijah to reign over all Israel in Tirzah 24 years. So Baasha reigned for 24 years, but you'll notice it's 24 non-accession years. That's the count God gives us, and it's also why we highlight above his name with this orange, just to let you know. Okay, and then Brian, do you want to go through King Asa?
Sure. So Asa was the third king of Judah. He was also the first good king of Judah. Like we talk about how Josiah was the last good king of Judah. Asa was the first good king of Judah. That's of course excludes David. And we read in 1 Kings 15:8, and Abijam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and Asa his son reigned in his stead. And in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah. And if you look at Jeroboam, you'll see his 20th, I think it's his 20th non-accession year, corresponds to, can you scroll it down a little bit just so they can see that?
It's actually his 20th. It's in yellow.
Oh, it's his 20th accession year? Okay, I
Yeah, so
apologize.
this is King
Oh, because
Jeroboam.
it's in yellow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see his 20th accession year corresponds with Asa's first year. And 1 Kings 15:10 reads, 40 and 1 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abshalom. And
So you'll see we put him, we put 41 years for his total reign.
mhm. Okay. And we take note of the fact that the 20th year of Jeroboam is speaking of his 20th accession year, even though God gives his total reign in non-accession years. So why not say his 21st non-accession year, since his total reign of 20 years is given in non-accession? Well, this just adds to the complexity of the king's timeline. Because remember, God writes everything in parables, and this is one of the ways that God was able to keep everything hidden until the end of time. And can we go back?
And then if you want to go through, yeah, there's more to King Asa.
Yeah, there was an apparent contradiction that was in there too.
Yeah.
So if you read in 1 Kings 16:8, 1 Kings 16:8, in the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Elah, the son of Baasha, to reign over Israel in Tirzah 2 years. So if you go to the 26th non-accession year of Asa, and you scroll over, I thought it was the 26th, not the 22nd.
Oh, right. 886.
And you scroll over, you can see that's the first year of Elah, I think it was. I can't see the name. Yeah, Elah. Okay.
Let me zoom out, it'll be a little easier to see.
Yeah.
So his 26th, this is Asa's 26th non-accession. That's 886. If you scroll over, you'll see Elah begins to reign in 886. This is his first non-accession.
Yeah, so you can see that's the year that Baasha dies. If you scroll up, you can see, yeah, the reason it seems like Baasha is the third king of Israel. And if you scroll down, it looks like it's continuing, but where you see it ends at 24, his son is king for 2 non-accession years, 1 accession year, and then the year that Zimri dies, that's the year that Tibni becomes king. So even though it seems continuous, it's Baasha's reign actually ends in 886, which is where Karl's mouse is right now. So that's the one thing. So he died in Asa's 26th year.
Yeah.
But
the only reason I don't have Tibni's name right above it because it's the very next year where Tibni begins to reign. So just I have it on the side here. But his reign ends in this year. That's what. Okay, I'll go back to the tab.
So scroll down a little bit. However, we read in 2 Chronicles 16:1, in the 6th and 30th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, king of Israel, came up against Judah and built Ramah to the intent that he might let none go out or come in unto Asa, king of Judah. So how can Baasha, king of Israel, come up against Asa, king of Judah, in his 36th year if he died in Asa's 26th year? And the answer is that it's not actually his 36th year of his reign. It's the 36th accession year of his dynasty, meaning of his lineage. So his grandfather, Rehoboam, became king in 931 BC. And if you take 931, actually, if you take negative 931 and you add 16, I'm sorry, add 36 rather,
36, yeah.
you get 895 BC. And if you look at 895 BC, you'll find that that corresponds to Asa's actual 16th year.
So this is, I marked it in blue just to let you know it's his 36th year of his dynasty, even though it's his 16th year. That's why it's in blue.
And we know it has to be the 36th year of his dynasty rather than his actual 36th year reign, because Baasha was dead during his actual 36th year.
Yeah, and you'll see up here it says, in the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, the son of Baasha, began to reign. That means Baasha dies in that 26th year. So 10 years later, you know, it appears like he's still alive, but that's not the case. Yeah, and we already went through all that, so.
Yeah, so anytime you read about Asa's 35th or 36th year, it's a reference to the 36th year of his dynasty rather than his actual 35th or 36th year, which would his 35th year of his dynasty is his actual 15th year, and the 36th year of his dynasty is the actual 16th year of his reign. And I actually want to look at that a little bit. Could we go to 2 Chronicles 15 and read verses 9 and 10?
Let's see. 1 Chronicles 15.
Yep. I'm sorry, 2 Chronicles 15, 9 and 10. And this is a reference to Asa. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to him out of Israel in abundance when they saw that Jehovah his God was with him. So they gathered together themselves at Jerusalem in the 3rd month, in the 15th year of the reign of Asa. Now, this is very interesting because I've discovered not just one, but 2 separate time paths in association with this passage. The first is, if we go back to the timeline, if we look at Asa's 15th year, you'll see it corresponds to 895 BC.
You mean his 15th year is 896.
Okay, 896. I'm sorry. Okay. So if you take 896 and you add 1994, well, plus 896. And then you subtract 1 because there's no year 0. And then you add 1 because you want to make it inclusive. You get 2,890. And 2,890 is 2 times 5 times 17 times 17. So the number of years from this event to the latter rain beginning in 1994 is 2,890 years, inclusive years, which is 10 completeness times 17, which is heaven, doubled. And of course, we know when something is doubled, God has established it and it's shortly to come to pass. And so I thought that was very interesting. And if we scroll forward to 2 Chronicles 16:1, now remember, this was in the 15th year of Asa. We read, in the 6th and 30th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, king of Israel, came up against Judah and built Ramah to the intent that he might let none go out or come into Asa, king of Judah. And that's really interesting because even though it says the 36th year, we just went over, that's actually a reference to his actual 16th year. So it would have been the following year. And so if that was the breakdown inclusively from his 15th year, that would mean it's the same number, non-inclusive, from the 16th year. So this time, instead of adding one to make it inclusive, so if you take 895 and you add 1994 and you subtract, that's, never mind. But anyway, yeah, I guess I did the math wrong there. So that's the one time path. The other time path, which I found really interesting, is, can I do a screen share real quick?
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Let me get my. Okay, can you see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
We're going to do a comparison of 896 BC to 7 BC, which is when Christmas was. And if you take the difference and you subtract them, you find there's an 889-year difference. And if you take that 889 and you times it by 12, you'll find that there's 10,668 Gregorian months between those two events. And if you go back to the passage, you'll see here it talks about the third month of Asa's 15th year. So we're going from the third month of Asa's 15th year, and Christmas was in the 7th month, not July, the 7th biblical month. And so going from the third month to the 7th month, that means we would add an additional 4 months. However, with the Gregorian calendar, we have a leap year every 4 years. And for those who know more about it, yes, I'm aware that on the century mark, it's not a leap year unless it's divisible by 400. But for most people watching, you basically have a leap year every 4 years, and you have an extra day of February 29th. In the biblical calendar, there are leap years as well, but instead of adding an extra day, it adds an extra month. So you have a 19-year cycle where during that 19-year cycle, you have 12 common months, meaning you have 12 months of 12 years of 12 months each. And you have 7 years of 13 months each. So over the course of a 19-year period, you would have 12 times 19, you'd have 228 Gregorian months in a 19-year period, and you would have an extra 7, you would have 235 biblical months during that same 19-year period. And we already said from 896 BC to 7 BC is 889 years. Now, if you take 47 times 19, you get 893. So if you have 47 19-year cycles, that's 893 years. And if you add 893 years to 896 BC, that would take you to the year 11,010 EA, or 3 BC. So between 3 BC and 896 BC, you would have 47 cycles. And if you take 47 times 7, that would mean an additional 329 biblical months, more than Gregorian months, during that period. But we're not interested in the year 3 BC. We're interested in the year 7 BC. So are there any leap years or leap months between 3 BC and 7 BC? And it turns out the year 11,008 EA, or 5 BC, is not a Gregorian leap year, but a biblical leap year, meaning it has an extra month. So from 896 BC to 3 BC, there's an extra 329 months. but we have to subtract this year if we're only going to 7 BC. So from 896 BC to 7 BC, there's an extra 328 biblical months. So if you take the 889 years and you times it by 12, you get 10,668 Gregorian months. You add 4 months more because you're going from the 3rd month to the 7th month. And then if you add 328 biblical months because of all those leap years, that adds up to 11,000 biblical months, non-inclusive, from the passage that we read about in Asa's 15th year till the 7th month of the year 11,006 EA, which is when Christmas was. So it seems to be tying both to Christmas and to 1994, and I just found that incredibly interesting. I hope I didn't get too complicated with the math there. But anyway, I just found that really interesting. So can we go on with the next king?
Yeah. All right. So we just did Asa, so we're gonna just scroll over to we're not going in any necessarily particular order. We're going back and forth between both of the sides here. So we just did Baasha. We're gonna move on to Elah and Zimri. Now, the reason that this is not the same king, I need to actually put and instead of a slash. So I'll go ahead and click this. This Elah is the 4th king, and Zimri is is 5th. So King Elah was the 4th king of Israel. When did he reign and how long? So 1 Kings 16, 8 through 12. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Elah, the son of Baasha, to reign over Israel in Tirzah 2 years. So if we go to the 26th year of Asa, which is right here, 26th year, this is his 26th non-accession, negative 886 BC. We scroll over, it's the 1st year that Elah began to reign, 886. And how long did he reign? Well, he reigned for 2 years, right here. 1, 2. King Zimri was the 5th king of Israel. When did he reign and how long? I'll zoom in here. And his servant Zimri, captain of half his chariots, conspired against him as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Azra, steward of his house in Tirzah. And Zimri went in and smote him and killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, and reigned in his stead. So the very next year, we were looking at 26, so 27 is 885. And so Zimri smote Elah. So this is Elah in this year right here. And it's the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. And it came to pass when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that pisseth against the wall, neither of his kinsfolks nor of his friends. Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha, according to the word of Jehovah, which he spake against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tirzah. So he only reigned 7 days. He didn't reign a full year. So we just lumped them together because it was in this year that Elah died. This is his 2nd year, and Zimri also reigned in the same year. And the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. Okay. Now, we'll go to Tibni next. And Brian, I guess after I read this, you could explain Tibni and Omri a bit. But so King Tibri and Omri were the 6th and 7th kings of Israel. So 1 Kings 16, 15 through 18. Actually, do you want to read that?
Sure. In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tirzah. And the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. And the people that were encamped heard say, Zimri hath conspired, and hath also slain the king. Wherefore all Israel made Omri the captain of the host, king over Israel that day in camp. And I looked up the word day. Word day is the word yom, which is the typical word for day. So Omri is made king the same day. No, that can't be right. So Omri is made king the same day that Zimri dies, because Zimri only reigned for 7 days. So Omri is made king the same day that Zimri dies. So to me, I would say that Omri, Zimri's the fifth king. I would call Omri the sixth king. And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, in Mr. Camping's book, he put Omri as a
he listed him seventh.
Yeah, he listed him. So how I have it laid out is how Mr. Camping listed it. And also Brian will explain more about this, but this is the layout's actually easier to list it this way, but we'll get into that.
Verse 18. Well, I'll read 17 again. And Omri went up from Gibbethon, and all Israel with him, and they besieged Tirzah. And it came to pass, when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house and burnt the king's house over him with fire and died. And if we skip down to verse 20, okay. So Zimri, Omri, and Tibni all begin to reign the same year, which is in 885 BC, which is Asa's 27th non-accession year. And we'll skip down to verse 21. 1 Kings 16:21. Then were the people of Israel divided into two parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned. In the 31st year of Asa, and this would be his 31st accession year, in the 31st accession year of Asa, king of Judah, Tibni dies, and
so I'll show the 31st.
Yeah.
So this is,
well, before we go to that, let's just talk about Tibni versus Omri. So Omri was made king the day that Zimri died, which is why I call him sixth. And Mr. I call Tibni seventh. However, Mr. Camping, when he listed them, he didn't actually give them numbers. He listed Tibni sixth and Omri seventh. And the reason is because there's a fight between the two. And eventually Omri's forces defeat Tibni's forces, and Tibni dies. And the line of the kings then goes to Omri's descendants rather than Tibni's. And so I think Mr. Camping thought it made more sense to list him seventh, because the descendants go down through him. Whereas I think it's more accurate to say that Omri was made king first. So I'm inclined to call him sixth and Tibni seventh, even though it's a little more complicated. But anyway, that's the difference. So, but 1 Kings 16:23.
You might want to start from the one above.
Okay.
Well, actually right here, verse 23.
23. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah.
So that's 31st.
Tibni. Well, where's the rest of the verse? Oh, it's below. It's there twice.
Oh, yeah, that's a glitch.
In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, began Omri to reign over Israel. 12 years, and this is 12 non-accession years. 12 years, 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. So what happened was, each of the kings of Israel, starting with Jeroboam, I always get Jeroboam and Rehoboam mixed up. Starting with Jeroboam, all the kings of Israel reigned in Tirzah. And then when Omri wanted to reign, he went to Tirzah. And he reigned in Tirzah the year that Zimri died. And there was a fight for 6 years where he reigned 6 years in Tirzah, where Omri was reigning in Tirzah and Tibni was reigning in Samaria. And then after Omri's forces defeat Tibni's forces, then Omri changes his capital from Tirzah to Samaria, and the kings thereafter reign in the kings of Israel reign thereafter in Samaria. So that's why it says he reigned 12 years. So he reigned a grand total of 12 years, non-accession. But the 31st year of Asa, that's the year that Tibni died and that Omri became the sole king of Israel.
I'll zoom out to show that. All right, so the 31st accession year of King Asa, right? Yeah. 31st accession year, 880, corresponds with the death of Tibni, 880, which is also the 6th accession year of Omri.
Non-accession.
Non-accession. Yeah, when you read the verse, you it almost makes it seem like the 6 years when Omri began to reign, because it says and the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, began Omri to reign over Israel 12 years. So it makes it seem like this 31st year, which is right here, begins the 12-year count. But it's simply just saying that this is when he began to reign by himself, because he was co-reigning with Tibni until his 6th year. So then he picks up and reigns another 6 years. And that's what the end of the verse says. 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. So that would be the last, right? The last 6 years or the first 6 years?
So the first 6 years, all the kings of Israel, starting with Jeroboam, their capital was in Tirzah. So Elah reigned in Tirzah, Zimri reigned in Tirzah. Omri went to Tirzah to overthrow Zimri. And that's where he ruled from for the first 6 years. But then shortly thereafter, Tibni challenged him. And Tibni ruled in Samaria. And they fought for 6 years, I guess 6 non-accession years. And eventually, Omri's forces defeated Tibni's forces, and Tibni was killed. It doesn't specify how. And then Omri changed his capital from Tirzah to Samaria, which is why he reigned for a total of 6 years. But he reigned 6 years. The first 6 years were in Tirzah, and the last 6 years were in Samaria, for a total of 12.
Yeah, and I can pick up here if you want. And
Yeah.
in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab, the son of Omri, to reign over Israel. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel and Samaria 22 years. Now, the reason I threw this in there, even though this isn't Ahab's tab, is that let's see. So Asa's 38th non-accession year is 874 BC. So if we go there, this is his 38th non-accession. It's 874. And we've already established that in 885, this is King Asa's 27th non-accession year. This is the same year that Tibni becomes king, the same year that Elah dies and Zimri becomes king, and it's also the same year that Omri becomes king, which is his first non-accession year. And we know he reigned for 12 non-accession years, which is 874. If you go over here, King Ahab picks up in 874 here, and that lands you in Asa's 38th non-accession year. So you may be wondering, it says, and in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab, the son of Omri, to reign. So is it his 38th accession year, or is it his 38th non-accession? And the only one that would fit would be his 38th non-accession. It couldn't be his 38th accession, because then Ahab would begin to reign in 873, and you wouldn't have these 12 years. It would be one more year after. So I don't know if I made sense with that.
Yeah. One other thing I want to say is I do believe that I don't know if you want to call Omri and Tibni a co-regency or if you want to say they were reigning concurrently, because they were both kings of Israel at the same time, but one of them was your king or one of them was not your king, depending on which part of Israel you were in. And I believe that this is the only co-regency, if you want to call it that, where it was something other than father and son.
Yeah. Well, they were both reigning over Israel, so I guess you can
Well, they
say
each reigned over part of Israel, just like if you want to look at the 12 tribes of Israel, Jeroboam and Rehoboam, Rehoboam was reigning over two of the tribes, and Jeroboam was reigning over 10 of the tribes. But there was no one place where they were both king over you at the same time.
Mhm.
And same tier two, I suppose, with Israel, it depended on which part of the 10 tribes you were in. You were either subject to Tibni or you were subject to Omri, but I'm not sure there was anybody that was subject to both at the same time.
Right. And I do want to point out too that the reason why Mr. Camping had Tibni 6 is just if you lay it out, his reign dead ends at 880, so you can't go down. So then if you jump over here to Elah, so from 886, 885, and go to 884, you can get down to the end of Omri's reign in 874, which picks up with Ahab. So I believe that's why he set it up this way. Even though Omri may technically have been king before Tibni, but keep in mind they both began to reign in the same year, 885, and we're dealing with years in this when it comes to the kings. So, all right, so we went through King Asa. So we can go through the next king of Israel.
And Campy didn't actually assign them numbers. That's just the order he listed them in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, those are just yeah, okay. So you'll notice down here with King Asa, again, if you see red, that means there's a co-regency in red right here. And if it's red but it's darker, we're simply just not counting that. So we would count 873, 872, 871. We don't count Jehoshaphat's 871 because that would be double counting. So we go to 870. So this is when Jehoshaphat began to reign, but this is his first session year. So read Jehoshaphat.
Before we do that, God does give us a little bit of insight as to why there was a co-regency between Asa and Jehoshaphat. If we look at 2 Chronicles 16:11.
Okay. Second. Oh, I have that. I think I have that information
Oh,
too.
is it in there?
Yeah, if you just want to read it, it's all in here.
Uh,
So we'll just start there.
okay. First Kings 22:42. Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 20 and 5 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Abzuba, the daughter of Shihili. And in First Kings 22, in verses 41 to 43, we read, and Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. And he walked, I don't know, where's verse 42?
42 was right here.
Oh,
We read that. Yeah. So the reason I ordered it this way is because how long that he reigned, it was 20 and 5 years. So because it's 25 accession years, that's why we put 25 accession years. And it would be 26 non-accession. So then this would be when he reigned. So that's how long he reigned.
verse 43, 1 Kings 22:43.
Oh, well, did you read the
Oh, sorry. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel.
okay,
So if we look at his first year, it should correspond to,
yeah.
so it corresponds, go ahead.
Okay, so King Ahab's fourth non-accession year, 871, corresponds with Jehoshaphat's first non-accession year, which is 871. So it lines up.
Okay, verse 43. Which is it? Second Kings something? What is
Yeah.
it?
This is 1 Kings
First
22.
Kings 22:43. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. He turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of Jehovah. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. So the fact that he says he walked in all the ways of his father Asa, Asa was a saved man. So if Jehoshaphat walked in all the ways of his father, who was a saved man, that means that Jehoshaphat was also a saved man. But God does give us some insight as to why there was a co-regency between Asa and Jehoshaphat. In Second Chronicles 16, starting in we'll read verses 12 and 13. And Asa, in the 39th year of his reign, was diseased in his feet. You can see that's there. No, scroll down. So I assume it's his 39th accession year. It doesn't matter. And in the 39th year of his reign was diseased in his feet until his disease was exceeding great. Yet in his disease he sought not to Jehovah, but to the physicians. And Asa slept with his fathers and died in the 41st year of his reign.
So he put
And
41 years here.
yeah,
Total reign.
and because Asa was diseased in his feet, perhaps that meant he couldn't run the kingdom on his own. So God says it was in his 39th year. So if you assume it was the 39th accession year, then the following year is when his son became co-regent with him.
And it did say that his disease, it appears to say his disease was getting worse, right? Until his disease was exceeding great. So there does seem to be a progression. So
Yeah.
he's diseased in his feet until his disease was exceeding great. So it seems like the disease was getting worse. So if the disease started in 39, maybe a year later, it got so bad that Jehoshaphat took over. And how old was Jehoshaphat? So Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old and began to reign. So even though Asa is still alive, Jehoshaphat begins to reign, and while Asa's alive. So perhaps it was just because he couldn't keep up with the kingdom just because of his disease. Maybe it got so bad, you know.
Mhm. Now, Asa was a saved man. There's no doubt about that. Now, why he didn't go to God, why he went to the physicians instead, I have no idea. But that is an interesting question, but one I don't have an answer for. But I see it's 8:54, so I don't know if you want to take questions at this point or
Um, uh, okay, someone does have a question. We can keep going though too, if it's up to you. But I'll get the first question.
well, that's fine. Do you want to keep going or do you want to take the question?
We can take a question right now. We can keep going afterwards because there's no more programs after this.
Okay.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
My question doesn't have to do with the kings that you are dealing with today. I'm going back to the judges. I was listening to the Bible reading today, and in 1 Samuel 1 Samuel 7 verse 15, it says that Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. As far as we know, from the timelines, Samuel judged for only 20 years after the death of Eli, the high priest. Surely Samuel was older than 20 years when he died, seeing he had two grown sons. So how do we reconcile that scripture?
What was the verse again?
1 Samuel 1 Samuel 7:15.
I'm not sure. I know that Samuel did anoint Saul and then later David. So I'm not sure how to make that harmonize. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
Oh, okay.
We're just going to continue on the timeline and then we'll take questions as we go along. All right. So we went through King Jehoshaphat. So that leaves us, we're going to go back. So we left off, so remember, we're just switching back and forth here. So we're going to go back to the kings of Israel, which is on the right side. We went through Omri, so the next king would be the 8th king. This is King Ahab. And I can go ahead and read this. King Ahab was the 8th king of Israel. 1 Kings 16:28 through 30. So Omri slept with his fathers and was buried in Samaria, and Ahab his son reigned in his stead. When did he reign? And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab the son of Omri to reign over Israel. So this is the 38th year of Asa, which is right here. It's non-accession 874. Ahab begins to reign in 874. And Ahab the son of Omri reigned over Israel and Samaria 22 years. So if you scroll down, you'll see it's 22 non-accession years. And again, if it's non-accession, it'll have the yellow highlight above the person's name. And
Orange.
orange, I'm sorry, not yellow. And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of Jehovah above all that were before him. 1 Kings 22:41 through 43. And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. So we already showed you that in his 4th year, Jehoshaphat takes over. So then we can pick up with we're gonna continue on through this line next session, but we'll continue down the line of the kings of Israel. So the next king is King Ahaziah. Do you want to read that?
Sure. King Ahaziah was the 9th king of Israel. When did he reign and how long? 1 Kings 22:51 and 52. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. So if you go to
Here's King Jehoshaphat. It's his 17th year, which is right here. This is the 17th accession year, by the way. If you scroll over, that's 854, 854, 854, King Ahaziah.
And as you can see, he reigned 2 non-accession years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin.
Yeah. And then this is King Jehoram.
And it's important, one of the ways that God makes things very complicated is that there was a King Joram, also known as King Jehoram, who was the 5th king of Judah, and he reigned for 12 accession years. And there was a King Joram/Jehoram, who was the 10th king of Israel, who also reigned for 10 years. And their reigns are almost perfectly synced up. They're only off 1 year.
We have that written down here, so
Okay.
It'll save you some. So King Jehoram was the 10th king of Israel, not to be confused with Jehoram, king of Judah. So if you scroll over to the left, you'll see King Joram is the 5th king of Judah. And as Brian stated, they're almost reigning at the same time. So not to be confused with the king of Judah, who has the same 2 names. They reign the same duration of time. So if you look, they both reign 12 accession years, 13 non-accession. 12 accession, 13 non-accession for him. And even reigned at the same time, or just about. The slight difference is that Judah Joram began to reign at 854 BC, which is right here, 854 BC, whereas the Israel Joram began to reign at 853 BC, so just 1 year later. And we're actually going to see why God set it up this way in just a moment. But it's interesting, and it really does show you have to be careful because you know, I mean, if you weren't careful, then you could assume they're just the same kings. So another prime example of how God hides truth and why we must carefully search the scriptures. You want to read the rest of that?
Okay. Oh, and just for the record, I believe that Joram and Jehoram, not only is the English the same, but the Strong's number is also the same.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can't tell that way either. So Joram and Jehoram have different Strong's numbers, I believe, but Joram, Israel king, has the same Strong's number as Joram, Judah king, and Jehoram, Israel king, has the same Strong's number as Jehoram, Judah king.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that that there's two different names. He has two different names. If we didn't already mention that.
Okay.
So 2 Kings 3:1. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. So the 18th year of Jehoshaphat would be right here. Let me zoom out a bit. The 18th year of Jehoshaphat is 853. You go over, you see 853 of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. So these are 12 accession years. So you notice how this is the first king of the kings of Israel where God gives us an accession count, whereas all these other kings up until the 9th one were given non-accession. So God's changing it up, and we have to be mindful of that. So Ahab, Israel, and then did you want to explain this bit about Ahab having two sons?
Okay. Ahab had two sons, and the one became co-regent with him for the last year or two of his reign. And then the Ahab and his one son died the same year. So there was a brief time where the one son was sole king, but the son died without having a son of his own, at which point his brother, who was also the son of Ahab, succeeded him as king.
Yeah, and you can see that right here. This is Ahab, King Ahab. You can see that his rule ended in 853, but so did King Ahaziah, his son. It ended in 853. So then his other son, right, Joram, takes over, and that's him right here.
And we don't have the verse in there, do we?
Let's see. Which verse are you looking for?
Um,
Oh, about his son. That's going to be in the other tab.
oh, okay. It's just in a different tab then. Okay.
I think so, yeah. But we can read it. We can read it. We can go ahead and read it. Do you have it on you?
First Kings, excuse me, Second Kings, 16 and 17.
2 Kings 16.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Second Kings 1:16. I'm sorry, Second Kings 1:16.
Kings 1 verse.
And he said unto him, Thus saith Jehovah, for as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, is there no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore thou shalt not come down off that bed which thou art gone up, but shall die surely. So he died according to the word of Jehovah, which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. And the rest of the acts of Ahaziah, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel?
Yeah. All right. So that covers Joram. And then we'll go to Jehu.
Jehu?
All right. So Jehu is the 11th. And again, we're given the section year count. That's why we have yellow above his name. King Jehu is the 11th king of Israel. When did he reign? 2 Kings 9, 21, 24, and 27. And Joram said, Make ready, and his chariot was made ready, and Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out. So you have this Joram right over here, king of Judah, and you have Ahaziah, king of Judah. This Ahaziah, not to be confused with Ahaziah, king of Israel. So you have, let's see where that's at. So this Ahaziah. You have this Ahaziah, and then you have this Joram. These are both.
Well, that Joram was dead when Jehu killed.
Yeah,
He had
right.
died the year before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. It's Joram.
Jehu fought the Israel Joram and the Judah Ahaziah
Yeah.
and killed them both in the same year.
Yeah, so what I meant is this. So it's in you can follow it with the colors. So Joram, king of Israel, it's a darker purple. So that would be a king of Israel. So Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, not Ahaziah, this king of Israel. It's this Ahaziah right here. So this king, Ahaziah, went along with this king Joram right here. So went out, each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. So and Jehu drew a bow with his full strength and smote Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. So he smote this Joram right here. And when Ahaziah the king of Judah saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house, and Jehu followed after him and said, Smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up to Gur, which is by Iblim. And he fled to Megiddo, and died there. 2 Kings 15:12. This was the word of Jehovah which he spake unto Jehu, saying, Thy son shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the 4th generation. And so it came to pass. We know Joram of Israel died in 841 BC because he reigned for 12 years, which means this is when Jehu began to reign. So that's how we discover when Jehu begins to reign. It's as soon as Joram dies, which is 841. So the Bible doesn't tell us when Jehu begins to reign, but we know that the same year that he died, 841, is when he would begin to reign. And then how long did he reign for? 2 Kings 10:36. And the time that Jehu reigned over Israel and Samaria was 28 years. So if we go down, we'll see we have it 28 years, and that's the accession count. That's why we have it in yellow. Anything else you want to add to that, Brian?
No, that pretty much covers it.
All right. All right, and then it looks like the last king we're going to go through today is maybe we got two more. This is the 12th king. So do you want to go? You want to read this one?
Sure. King Jehoahaz was the 12th king of Israel. When did he reign and how long? In 2 Kings 13, verses 1 and 2, we read, In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 17 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, and followed the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom.
Okay, so this is the 23rd year. So the 23rd year of Joash. Now, it's important to point out there's actually two Joashes, right?
Yeah, there's the 13th king of Israel and the 8th king of Judah.
Yeah.
And again, just like Joram and Jehoram, I think Joash and Jehoash have two different Strong's numbers, but you can't tell which king it is based on the Strong's number. You have to look at the context.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you look over here on the left, Joash and Jehoash is the 8th king of Judah. But this is when we're going through King Jehoahaz, it's the king of Judah that's being referred to. So in the 23rd year of Joash, so we go to his 23rd non-accession year, which is right here. That's 813. You go all the way over. 813 gets you this is where we place his reign, right here. All right, sorry, you can continue. Oh, you did. You already read that.
Well, he reigned 17 years, so he reigned 17 accession years.
So scroll down. So we give him 17 accession years, 18 non-accession. Okay. So this is Jehoash. Do you want to read this one as well?
Sure. King Jehoash was the 13th king of Israel. Again, not to be confused with the 8th king of Judah. When did he reign and how long? 2 Kings 13, verses 9 and 10. And Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his stead. In the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, began Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 16 years.
Okay. So this is the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah. So again, it's in this lighter purple, so we know that's referring to this king of Judah. So we're going to go down to his 37th year. And this is going to be given in accession. So this is 798. Zoom out here. 798. So we place Jehoash or Joash in 798. And this was how long did he reign? He reigned 16 years. So we go down 16 accession years. Okay. And that's as far as we're going to get today. So we don't have too many more kings to go through with the line of the kings of Israel. Actually, I just got a few more here. So we're on the 14th king, and you're going to see that the king of Israel, the line of the kings of Israel actually dies off right here. And so we have to go to the lines of the king of Judah because it takes us much farther down the timeline.
Yes, I believe the Assyrians destroyed Israel in 709 BC, and it was a century later, in 609 BC, when Josiah, the last good king of Judah, was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah.
was the 16th king, I believe, out of 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're on the 14th king, so we're almost there. And then we're going to pick up from, I believe we left off of the kings of Israel with this Jehoram. So we'll pick up there and we'll continue on down. And yeah, before you know it, we're going to be done with the kings and we'll move on to, we'll get past the kings and move further onto the timeline. So this was a really important detour. Anything else you want to add, Brian?
No, that's it. I think we have a hand raised.
Yeah, so we'll get this last question and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, I was following and looking at my graph, a lot of arrows, and Elah, King Elah. I noticed
Elah was the 4th king of Israel, was it not?
Elah, Elah. Yeah.
Yeah, 4th king, yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. I had 866 to 885, and that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So it should be 886. So I corrected that. And it says 2-year reign, so probably it was non-accession.
So it sounded
Was
like
it
you had it correct. You said 886 and 885?
Yeah,
That's correct.
but I had 866, which doesn't make sense.
Oh,
So it
you
must
might
be the
I
slip of my pen, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were more kings over at the Israel line than the Judah line. So it seems like the Judah kings live longer.
Not that they live
There are
longer
more
necessarily.
turnovers in the Israel side, or Samaria, Israel.
Yeah,
More turnover of kings.
their line ends right here. So then, but yeah, they could have had shorter lifespans. I mean, Jeroboam, not to be confused with Jeroboam, king of Judah. You know, he lived. He had a
No, Jeroboam was both the first and the 14th king of Israel.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. With not to be confused with the first Jeroboam. This is the 14th Jeroboam, 14th king.
Oh, okay, 14. All right.
He reigned as long as 41 years. But yeah, I mean, it seems like most of the kings of Israel had really long reigns,
Okay.
especially the good
Oh,
kings. King
I
Asa.
just realized, yeah. Well, we went that far already. Jeroboam. I forgot there was a Jeroboam.
Yeah, we're not quite there with that the second Jeroboam because we got as far as the 14th king, with the 13th king. So we'll pick up with Jeroboam next time. He's the one that we left off with. And then on the kings of Judah, we left off with the fifth king of Judah, King Joram. So but
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yep, you're welcome. All right, well that concludes our program today. So God willing, next Sunday, um, provided that doesn't run into the conference. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, next Sunday, God willing, we'll be back with part 6 of the King's Timeline. All right,
Okay.
thanks for watching.
Thank you.